What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, invading California for NAMM 2020, and we are here with Orphan Land. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. So, Unsung Prophets and Dead Messiahs is now 2 years old. Can we be expecting fairly some new Orphan Land soon?
I could tell that we're really working hard on this because, bringing the music is the easy part. There's lots of music going on, we're writing lots of stuff, but finding the right concept, that's the difficult part. 'Cause
Okay.
It's basically all around the same subject, but we're trying to find the right story.
Okay. So it's fair to say that the story determines the outcome of the music itself too, right?
Definitely, because once we have the story itself, we can pile it up with the music, because we want the music to tell the story even without the lyrics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've noticed that. But with Unsung Prophets and Dead Messiahs, I felt many different emotions with it. Is there a consistent story that ties the entirety of the album together, or could each song be its own story?
You could tell that to each has his own story, but they're all related in kind of a way. I remember we always have a bunch of music out there, and we don't know what to do with it. And once we have the concept, we could just take this part. It sounds like a happy part, a sad part, a strong part. You could basically take it as a puzzle and build it towards the end.
Ah, interesting.
That's how it's working.
Could the music still be open to interpretation, though, or is the goal for Orphan Land to kind of maybe get the listener to see things from your point of view?
There's always a place for interpretation, but I would say that we're quite straightforward and upfront with what we want to say, so there is not too much room to go around the whole message.
Okay. Now, I really admire the guitar work for that. If you don't mind me asking, is there a musical theory element that you have, because the melodies that I see some classical music influence in there? Are you working off of a certain scale or chord progression, or is the guitar work rather improvised?
I would say it's mostly improvised. I remember each and every one of us, we listen to so many different kinds of music, and it's something that is coming naturally from us. When we hear those stuff in our heads, we're not crazy. We checked.
Yeah.
We hear those kind of notes in our head, and it comes in that particular way naturally, and then we try to take it to the theoretical level and try to figure out what we actually did.
Yeah.
So it's basically an improv most of the time.
Interesting. Now, kind of going back to the story elements, because I feel coming from Israel, you could write about spiritual stories. There's political commentary you could address and everything like that. Does inspiration come out of nowhere for you guys, or do you have to kind of look for it?
We have to look for it. I mean, we have our daily lives, the situation in the Middle East. Those are stuff we see on the news, on the social media, or wherever we go. Pretty much, it's all over the place. So, what is the noise?
Oh, just the ATM machine.
All right, sounds like a robot. But yeah, we basically have to constantly find it, but it's put out there for us, so we could talk about.
Don't worry about it. The mic cancels it out.
Yeah, it's funny. You guys can't hear that, but it's really funny right now.
So it's fair to say you have to look for it. At what point do you settle on the story?
We let's take Mabul, Unsung Prophets, stuff like that. We just scroll around books, particular stories on the internet, or asking friends about particular kind of stories that could you could transcribe it to the same thing that we're talking about, and we're exploring, and until we find that particular strong one. I would say for the new album I wanted another thing that is biblical.
Mm-hmm.
But I could not find a story as strong as the Mabul, let's say, so we have to keep looking for it until we find the right one.
Mm-hmm. And I have two more questions for you. Get the most difficult question out of the way. How do you know when a song is done?
When you don't have any more comments, we each of us have lots of comments going on the songs, and when most of us are happy, and we could it's obviously a democracy, so everyone needs to be happy with it, and we try to compromise for some things that it would work for me and it would work for Kobe, let's say, if we don't like that particular part, but he really loves it, so we try to change it a bit so we could all work with it. That's how eventually it wraps up as a song that we all agreed upon.
And the final question I'd like to ask you is I'd like to do a little bit of gear talk with you, if that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
what is your weapon of choice in Orphan Land?
Definitely, I would always take a Gibson. I'm here on behalf of Gibson right now. And I've always been a fan, obviously, because of Slash.
Yeah.
And I find this guitar most comfortable. It's like the classic look. It has pretty much everything I need. It's my go-to guitar.
Okay. And does it best suit the style of music that you play too, or is it really just because you focus? It's just the guitar you identify with the most.
I would say it fits my sound because it took me a lot of time to figure out my song, my sound. For years, I've been buying like guitars I don't really want, like Ibanez or whatever, metal guitars you could call that, because they were cheap and I did not have any money. Until some point, I realized, oh, I have a bunch of guitars that I could sell and buy a Gibson. So I sold all of them and bought my first Gibson.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's all I needed. Now I'm comfortable playing. I have the sound I actually wanted, and it fits everything.
Yeah. And in terms of amps, or do you use any pedals as well, or?
We stopped using amps just a year ago due to the tier tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, an amp fell on my leg the same day we had that interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So after that amp fell on my leg, I decided, guys, we dropped the amps. I don't want that anymore, and we switched to Line 6
Okay.
Helix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So the day I interviewed you, a big amp just fell right on you.
Yeah, and people had to carry that off of me. That hurt a lot.
I don't mean to laugh, but
Yeah, it was funny. It
Yeah.
was funny. It's okay to laugh.
Yeah, yeah. So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
Is there just anything else you would like to promote in terms for Orphan Land, like any tours coming up or some new music, if you're allowed to say, of course?
Right now, I'm sorry, guys, I don't have anything for you. Just wait for the music. It's coming. Promise.
All right, fair enough. Everybody, we are here with Orphan Land. Be sure to pick up Unsung Prophets and Dead Messiahs if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York, invading California for NAMM 2020. We'll see you next time.
Hell yeah.